Oil prices falling as President Trump says there's a good chance of a deal with Iran, with U.S. strikes still on pause, but a warning from the president. If talks fail, the fighting could return. Watch.
I know exactly what's going on at Pickaxe. It's not a big problem. We took out their nuclear sites, and we'll have to take out Pickaxe if we don't make a deal. If we don't make a deal, we'll take it out very easily. But this is actually a good time to make a deal for them. If they don't make a deal, then I go back and I finish the job. But that's going to take them forever to rebuild. I go back and finish up the job, as some people would like, with the bridges, with the very easy. I could take out most of their bridges in less than an hour.
President Trump is meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu now as the high-stakes negotiations continue. Okay, Taylor, kick us off with some oil news here, because we are down in the 78s on WTI.
You know, which is so crazy, and I think you guys, we talked about this last week and yesterday, and I feel like a little bit of a broken record saying this. This was an oil market that's desperate to go down. You know how we talked about this was an equity market that was just desperate to go up, climbing that wall of worry? It felt like the oil market just wanted a reason to go down, wanted any excuse. And Brian, that's what you're seeing today and yesterday. I think my concern is we've seen how volatile it is. The minute that the MOU was ripped up or the minute that they closed the strait, oil shoots back up again. So I think I can't sit here today and look at you and say, oh, yeah, we're all in the clear. Oil's lower and it's loyal forever and we're producing more and we're the world's exporter and we're going to refill the SPR and all of our problems are solved. I think today oil is lower, but I still have a lot of concerns about the Strait, the Red Sea, and also refilling our SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and again, how long it takes to switch our refineries so that instead of relying on the imports for jet fuel and diesel fuel, we can use the sweet light crude that we have here, refine it for our own use as well, instead of some of the refineries that I believe are dependent more on the heavy sour, and that's the stuff that we get from abroad.
Kevin, are you just over the deal talk, or when the hook of the deal gets thrown into the water, are you still biting on that?
I like that talk. The talk that I don't like is the remaining neocon talk in Washington, because it's every time that they raise their voices that oil prices go up. We should not...
Wait, is that like the finish the job talk?
Finish the job in a way the president apparently doesn't mean, which is to, for example, the neocons are arguing now over the last 2 weeks, send in ground troops. Oh. Dramatic bright red line for us at Heritage and for the American people. I think the president knows that. To your question, though, Brian, about the president's talk of negotiation, I actually see this as success. We have denuded Iran's military by 20 or 25 years, probably 8 to 10 years on their nuclear program. The president could declare victory tonight to the American people, and Iran will be weaker than it would have been at the beginning of this. The key for us, I think, is to keep the military strangulation of Iran's military going, as well as the economic warfare, but also think this is an opportunity to recognize that our missile stockpiles are dangerously low. Our analysts at Heritage, who are very supportive of this conflict, as I am, are concerned. They think we're okay, but they're concerned in particular about the diminishing stockpile of Patriot defensive interceptors. That's what we're going to see the problem be if this tit for tat continues. I'm not only hopeful to your question, but also prayerful that this president, whose 2 administrations have been marked by being a peacemaker, by resetting geopolitics in a way that makes the world safer for the United States, has the time to make the peace rather than continuing to get pressure from some circles in Washington that we have to finish the job with ground troops. That would be a disaster.
You think walking away, like I'm interested in what you said. If we declared victory, walked away now, we'd have set back around 20 to 25 years. Do you think we could do that, or have we left things too uncertain in the Strait and given Iran a chance to say, look, we own that, we control this thing, and that's the model going forward?
I don't think we can do that. Okay. And I don't think this is a president that would do that, although it's certainly an option if he wanted to. I think that the situation and what you're hearing now about the attacks on Saudi Arabia, the reports are indicating, although the Iraqi militias that are backed by Iran haven't confirmed that they've done it, but that this is bleeding more into the region than we even thought it was before. I wasn't looking, Iraqi militia groups weren't on my radar. The Houthis certainly were, but now, you know, and Hezbollah was. But now I think that there is, out of desperation, more chaos in the region. But that's not to say that it can't be cured. And the reason that I say that is I really like this Axios report today that has sort of been on my radar screen and the background of my thinking of what the president is trying to do. We don't have a lot of knowledge about what is happening on the ground in Iran, but Axios is reporting that the economic crisis is deepening. Day by day, it gets worse for them, that there are gasoline shortages, that they can't pay their proxies to fight. Now, somehow they are managing to get things done, but I think they're doing it and cobbling it together like literally, with duct tape and string. And so I'm wondering if the president isn't sitting back and all of these we'll talk, even though he knows talks aren't necessarily going to get anywhere. It buys more time on our side, but more time for them to fall apart, even though we've also said that maybe they're rearming, maybe Russia and China are helping them. That's also possible too. But I always say that the intelligence we have as laymen, what we hear, isn't the intelligence that is in the Oval Office. They know a lot more than we do. And yesterday, President Trump said, I have a lot of patience. He was talking about this whole situation. And the between the lines on that essentially is that the patience translates into let them implode on their own. We don't need ground troops. We don't need to make this a bigger thing. I would love to have an update if I was a fly on the wall to know what that delta on time is, how much longer it will take. But I've always sort of had that underlying belief from the start that they will implode if you put that pressure on them. And, the financial pressure because of how their treasury is run, because of the sanctions that Scott Bessent imposed. These are all real issues that with a maximum pressure military campaign and a maximum pressure economic campaign, you literally can make them crumble. I would love to know how long that would take.
And he's playing the long game. He really is playing the long game, and he's controlling the game now in a way that he didn't when Iran took over the Strait of Hormuz, which is something that military analysts were afraid of for years now. Everybody said, oh, geez, he's lost, this is terrible. But he's now using time as his advantage, waiting for those sanctions to kick in. By the way, you mentioned the Patriot interceptors. That's one reason Zelensky's here. He wants to start manufacturing them within Ukraine, which would be a tremendous help to the United States stockpiles as well. So there are many different purposes of these meetings. And I should also just say, by the way, the last time Bibi was in Washington, was in the White House, was in February, just before the bombing began. I'm not saying that's going to happen because, if anything, he's had more trouble with Bibi recently than he has with Zelensky. In fact, Zelensky and here seem to be getting a lot closer. But there is a popular fatigue with the back and forth, the up and downs of oil prices, the back and forth on war and negotiations. And that has to be counted into the equation. I'm sure President Trump hasn't forgotten about that. It's not that he wants to ignore the midterm elections and ignore the popular reaction, but he is now controlling the deal with Iran much more than I think he was a couple of months ago.
Fascinating conversation, and I think at the end of it all, Jackie, there's what we know and there's what we don't know. And when we find it out, we talk about it.